Dear boomers, I am asking you to support Harris Waltz in the November election. As a boomer, we need to think of the things we can do to help the younger generation. Now, I think the trends are very helpful for boomers going for Harris. But in her economic speech, Kamala talked about, interestingly enough, housing startups for young, for first time homeowners, which would be largely the Gen Xers. And as I have learned on this channel, the Gen Xers are very angry at the boomers, people. I mean, I didn't know this, but I was educated when I noticed that um, Tim, the guy who kind of took me down on his channel for Tim Dillon took me down on his channel because I was a boomer, and then all of his fans came over to my channel to kind of take me down, and actually they educated me. They educated me about the fact that these young people cannot find homes, and they blame us because we are aging um, long into our 70s and 80s, most of us. And when that happens, we are not moving out of our homes. And then there's this aging in place kind of movement amongst my generation that, I have a large house here, but it's not that large. But I could probably take somebody in. But the point is, I don't want to. I like living alone. I'm going to do some living alone kind of videos coming up. However, the Gen Xers are mad at us because we are holding on to these homes and there aren't really that many more homes being built for them. But Harris steps in and says she's going to make it possible for first time homeowners to own a home and I guess get some credits and this and that. And this means that, hey, Gen Xers, you don't have to be mad at us anymore. And Kamala is a boomer too, a very, on the younger side of boomerism. um, so I want to help Gen Xers find a place to live, and Harris is supplying that. Now, the thing is, new polls show that baby boomers and members of the silent generation are switching allegiances from Trump to Harris. And in fact, I just recently went to see my cousin, my 93-year-old cousin, and he is also, well, he's been, very liberal his life, but of course he's for Harris and Waltz, and he was very happy that Waltz is on the ticket because of his charisma. He did not want to lose Shapiro either. We still have Shapiro in our state as the governor, and we could not be happier about that. So he is the silent generation. He's for Harris Waltz. The younger people are very much for Harris Waltz. So that's a huge trend. So what we have here, there's a Emerson College poll that was released on Thursday, and today's Sunday, shows over 70 people, like myself, are backing Harris over Trump, 51 to 48%. This is before the convention boost. This is good for Harris, and 50% of the boomer group before had supported Trump, while 48 had backed Biden. Then there's this group of voters who used to be double haters. They hated Trump, they hated Biden, and those people were sort of in limbo. And now they are 100% going for Harris. Well, they maybe not 100%. But baby boomers who were born between 1946 and 64, and the silent generation born between 1925 and 1945, had so far before now, when Biden was still in the race, supported Trump. Why? Why? He's a maniac, and he is getting worse. In fact, he was in Wilkes-Barre yesterday, and he said to the crowd, referenced them as being from North Carolina. And I think that he's probably worn out. I mean, let's be real. The guy is in a decline, and he's not running for president to help the country, or even that he loves the country. He's running because he's trying to stay out of jail. And believe me, he's not going to win, especially if we work hard, because it would be terrible to have this Project 2025 is really going to be ruinous to all of us. And I heard a couple podcasters this morning say they were discussing where they should go if Trump should win, because they would be on his target list. And that's not paranoia. He has as much as said he is going to go after his enemies, the people who don't love him. He's going to replace all the civil servants with Trump loyalists. He's going to get rid of all of the immigrants and put them in the cages. Probably, there'll be some terrible things that happen that we won't know about, although we can just imagine. So here we go. The trends are changing because they see through this. Well, of course, the people who are for Trump to begin with are deranged, and there's no way of talking to them. But we have to understand now, the fact that Trump hates anyone who is not a Republican, and in fact there is no Republican Party anymore. They call all of us communists. This is not new. I mean, as I was growing up, my mother was targeted as a communist. I can't believe it. It reminds me of Charlie Chaplin and having to leave the country because of Joe McCarthy. Well, this whole idea of going against my mother's whole, in the era of the John Birch Society back in the 1950s, was a directly related to what we're experiencing now. John Birch Society had replaced the KKK, and now Trump has replaced the John Birch Society. And all this stuff is not new, and it's getting very tired and very old. So, that likely voters under 30 have shifted towards Harris by 9 points. And I again want to tell the young voters that I am thrilled to support Harris, if for no other reason, which is, I have many reasons, then they will now be able to get some housing, and they don't have to be so pissed off, mad at the boomers. Hey, who are you going to be mad at now? Voters over 70 are now 51% to 48%. We have a few more weeks to go. They are extremely motivated to vote. Most people are extremely motivated to vote on November 5th. And I guess the Project 2025 really helped to boost these numbers. It just seemed to grab people's attention. Do they really want to live in a country that or ruled by Putin? Putin would be the president if Donald Trump gets in, because who else is, he can't do the job. So he'll elicit Russia to do his bidding. And Tim Walz. She picked the absolute most wonderful man to run for president, vice president with her, and everybody loves him. I mean, I'd never heard of him before, but I now love him. And so my main point is that Harris is going to make housing available to Gen Xers who, up until this point, have had a very slim chance of living anywhere, except with their parents maybe. And maybe that's not a bad thing. I mean, in other countries, I'm not saying this is, I'm glad things are changing for them, and I want them to be able to live in their own homes. But In other countries, people live with their parents, they live with their grandparents. There's like multi generational love that takes place in these other cultures. I know that my Muslim friends who bought my farm are very much into all generations. They love everybody. They're a little bit upset by the Gaza situation, as are we all. And maybe there'll be a ceasefire in the next few days. That would, or the next week or so. But Netanyahu is holding that up. I'm not sure how they're going to get around him. But, obviously, I am for all of us having a better life. And especially, I must summarize that I knew the Gen Xers were mad at us. And I want them to know that this whole thing is changing. It's a sea change. And we love change because it's part of life. And we can't avoid it. We can't deny it. And it's all a beautiful thing. So, there's going to be a video right there. Take a look. Love to all.